What does the marshmallow test have to do with serendipity? In this episode, we're going to dive in and explore the answer to that. Now, before we get into that, I want to make note that this episode of the Happy Accidents podcast is going to be quite different for a couple of reasons. One, normally on the Happy Accidents podcast, by normally I should say every other episode of the Happy Accidents podcast has been either me retelling a story of a happy accident, how some sort of product was accidentally invented, or an idea for a company came about in a serendipitous way, or two people met by chance and started a company or a band, whatever. There's those types of episodes of this podcast, and generally those are quite scripted. I have to do a lot of research. I got all my speaking notes, and I don't like how they come across because they're very scripted. The other types of episodes that you've experienced of the Happy Accidents podcast is the interview style one, where I am interviewing somebody who has either had their own happy accident or has a unique take on serendipity or has written a book on the subject, and I'm picking their brain. Again, they're not scripted so much as they are. I have to do a lot of preparation, come up with a bunch of different questions, really research the person, and then hopefully we have a great conversation. Both of those require a ton of editing as well. This episode is very different for two reasons. One, I'm not diving into a particular story, and I'm not interviewing anybody. That's one reason why this one's different. The other reason is I'm not going to edit this one at all. There's going to be zero editing. If you're watching on YouTube, there's going to be no B-roll. If you're listening to this on like Apple or Spotify, you're not going to hear an intro. You're not going to hear an outro. I'm not going to do several takes and splice this all together. This is just going to be a candid conversation of me talking about a topic that has to do with serendipity. No editing. Like, unless my doorbell rings and my dog starts barking or something. But other than that, I'm just sitting down in front of the camera with a microphone. I've got an idea I want to talk about, and I'm talking about it. So here's the idea. This part I do have to read a little bit because I'm talking about the marshmallow test. And what does that have to do with serendipity? And does this line up with my thinking and what I talk about when it comes to the role that serendipity plays in success? So if you're not familiar with the marshmallow test, I'm just going to give you a bit of an overview. I've got it in front of me here. Basically, the marshmallow test was a very famous psychological experiment on delayed gratification. It was conducted in the 1960s and early 70s by a guy named Walter Mischel from Stanford University. So here's how it worked. He had children, usually around the age of 4 to 5 years old, and they were placed in a room with a single marshmallow on the table. A researcher told the children that they could either A, eat the marshmallow now, or wait, usually 10 to 15 minutes, and if they waited, they would be rewarded with a second marshmallow. So their options were eat it right now, you get one, wait for me 10, 15 minutes, and then I'll give you two marshmallows instead of just the one. Then the researcher left the room. And this is where the test began because they started to watch how long each child could resist the temptation. Now, as you can imagine, some of them couldn't resist very long and immediately ate the marshmallow. Some of them, maybe they waited it out 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes and eventually they gave in and ate the marshmallow. Some of them probably waited the entire 15 minutes because they knew, hey, I get two marshmallows if I wait this thing out. So here's what made this psychological experiment so famous. Years later, Mischel followed up with the children and found that those who waited, the ones who waited the entire 15 minutes and got the second marshmallow because of that, those kids tended to have better life outcomes. They had better or higher SAT scores, they had healthier relationships, they had better stress management, etc. It became a cornerstone example in discussions around how self-control, executive function, and success predictors, like delayed gratification, if you exhibit that sign, that could be a indicator of success in life. Having said that, some more recent studies have challenged the strength of those conclusions, suggesting that outcomes may be more influenced by socioeconomic factors, trust in adults, environmental stability. It wasn't a perfect study, is basically what we're saying. But it was a very famous study that said, hey, the more self-control you have, the more delayed gratification you can have, the more successful or happy you might be in life. So that's on one side of the equation. On the other side of the equation, you have the stuff that I've been saying. Now, if you saw or listened to my TED Talk that I gave earlier this year, so that was on May 3rd, 2025, you can look it up on YouTube, on the TED YouTube channel. I gave a TED Talk saying the real secret ingredient to success is serendipity. We can plan all we want, but at the end of the day, if you look at every single success story, you're going to find an element of serendipity in there somewhere. We do not control everything. We can sit down and plan it all we want. It's not going to end up the way we planned. Serendipity is going to play a role, and that we have to embrace that. We have to lean into that, and I go through how to do that in my TED Talk. So does that line up with the Marshmallow Test? Marshmallow Test says delayed gratification is the real indicator of success. I'm saying if you can understand that serendipity is what plays the biggest role in success, you're bound to be more successful. Are those at odds, or do they go together? I believe they go together, and I believe there's two ways that this could unfold. So I'm going to take you through both paths. Path number one is you sit down and say, listen, I want to do X. I want to be the best in the world at X. I want to build the best Y, or I want to do this. I want this to happen for me. I have an end goal, and I'm not going to stop until I have that goal. Now, some people, like the kids in the Marshmallow Test, might face a little bit of adversity early on. They may not get the results they want fast enough, and they're out. And you probably see that all the time. Like there's a stat, I think, that says 90% of businesses, new businesses, end up failing. Some cases it's because they just had a bad business plan, but in a lot of cases it's they just weren't patient enough and they couldn't wait it out. That lines up pretty nicely with the Marshmallow Test. I'm not seeing the results I want soon enough. I'm out of here. I want instant gratification. I can't handle this delayed gratification, or maybe I don't have the means to wait that long. So I got to shut this thing down. I'm going to pivot. I'm going to quit, whatever. However, there are people who can wait it out and do wait it out. And they just stay laser focused on that goal and they don't waver. And sometimes it takes them 5, 10, 15 years, but eventually they reach that goal. So an example that comes to mind is James Dyson with his Dyson vacuum, with the vacuum, the cyclone technology with the ball. How many different prototypes, iterations did it take for him to finally get it right? And then how many times did he get turned down by different producers and partners and manufacturers and funders and so on who did not believe in his concept or saw it as a threat maybe to the traditional vacuum industry? But he perceived, this was my goal. I'm not giving up until I achieve that goal. Now, even in those cases, like James Dyson or other people similar, I'm willing to bet it still did not happen exactly as they would have scripted it. If it did, they probably would have happened a lot faster, less iterations, but probably also didn't go according to traditional plan. I'm willing to bet there was an unexpected conversation. There was a chance encounter. There was funding that they didn't expect, came from a source they didn't expect. A partnership came to be that they never saw coming. Serendipity still played a role somewhere in that. And the fact that they had delayed gratification only helped, because the whole concept of serendipity is you don't control it. You have to have some delayed gratification and say, I don't know what Serendipity is going to bring my way. I don't know when it's going to bring something my way. I don't know what it's going to look like. It could look something very different than what I'm expecting. But I am fully confident that as long as I'm out there doing things, in my TED Talk, I call this setting the stage or increasing your luck surface area. As long as I'm out there meeting new people, trying new things, doing the stuff, being curious, opportunities are going to come my way. And I have this mindset of delayed gratification, still focused on this very specific goal, but those two things are going to go together, and eventually I will reach that goal. So that was path one. Path two is a very different path. Might look a little bit similar in the beginning, but it unfolds very differently. Path two is, hey, I've got this goal. I want to be the best X. I want to build the next mousetrap. I want to improve on this product. I want to bring this new revolutionary thing to be. And I'm going to start going down that road. Similar to the kids in the Marshmallow Test, similar to some of the people in Path 1. I'm not seeing the results fast enough. This isn't passionate enough for me. Whatever the reason, I'm out. Then there's the other kids that were in the Marshmallow Test, the other people like James Dyson say, no, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to see this through. The difference in Path 2 is they don't end up building that X or being that Y that they planned out to. The goal changes because serendipity comes along and throws them a different idea. Hey, I know you were planning on doing this, but while you're out there increasing your luck surface area and setting the stage and doing all this stuff, this other completely unexpected opportunity landed in your lap. And maybe it's different and even better than what you were expecting. Tons of stories have the path too. Those are the ones that I typically focus on here on the Happy Accidents podcast. Those are the ones that I love retelling. But in both cases, make no mistake, delayed gratification was required and serendipity played a part. So does the Marshmallow Test contradict my whole theory of serendipity plays a huge role in success? No, I think the two go together and have to go together in order to have a mindset of, you know what, I understand I'm not completely in control, and I know that some unexpected opportunities are going to have to land in my lap in order for this thing to be a success. That requires delayed gratification, and it requires understanding the fact that serendipity is going to play a role. You don't have everything under control. I'm a Christian. I believe God has plans for all of us. So there's His will, but He also gave us all free will. That also, I believe, lines up very nicely with this. God gave us gifts. It's up to us to utilize those gifts, aka setting the stage, increasing our luck surface area, getting out there, owning our part. But we don't know what God is going to bring our way when we do that. If we're too intent on doing it all our way, and here's the very specific thing I want to happen, you're praying to God, God, bring me X, hurry up, make this happen for me. Probably not going to happen that way. And if you don't have the patience and if you don't have the trust in God and sitting around waiting for serendipity to come your way, you're going to be like the kids who grab the marshmallow too quickly and you're out. Not knowing that serendipity or God had a much bigger, better, unique, unexpected idea or plan or something in store for you. This all lines up together. Whether it's the Marshmallow Test with delayed gratification, whether it's understanding that serendipity plays a bigger role in success than you'd like to admit, whether it's stepping back and going, you know what, I don't have as much control as I thought. I have free will. I can influence things, and it's up to me to use my gifts. But in the end, God is in control. All those things, I believe, fit together perfectly. We're saying the same thing. This is not a contradiction. This is a confirmation that this is how life works. I would love to hear from you in the comments. If you're on YouTube, did you enjoy this style with just me sitting down, unscripted, unedited, and just riffing on a topic? Or were you like, Dennis, can you go back to the old way? Like, what was this? This is not what I was expecting. But I'd also love to hear from you, whether in the comments on YouTube or if you want to send me an email. You can get a hold of me at dennis@dennisgeelen.me. What are your thoughts on this topic? Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Are there other studies out there that you think I should be looking into? Are there other topics that you would like to hear me kind of riff on the podcast? Either way, reach out. I'd love to hear from you. That's it for this episode.